what you should see is that it starts straight away. And there we go. Hello and welcome to a very foggy Netherlands. My name is Stuart here at HobbyKing.com, here to give you a Tips Bench Tuesday video with a little difference. Now, about a year ago we released our very popular range of Turnigy TP engines, and it may have been missed, but in that actual product profile of the range I did go into how to start by hand from new a gas engine, and I used the 26cc as an example. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut back to that part of the footage where I show you the tips that are required to get a brand new engine starting out of the box by hand. Now that's quite unusual because a lot of engines need a starter motor and take a lot of getting going, at least initially, out of the box. That's not the case with, here we are, I have one down here with me, with the Turnigy TP engines. Now again, I apologize because the light's not great here. It is rather foggy. We've been waiting for it to clear so I can do some videos on the stuff you see behind me. Anyway, the point being is we're going to cut to that footage. I'm going to show you the tips and tricks you need to get a brand new engine, gas engine, to start out of the box by hand. It's a sign of a very good engine, and we're going to cut to that footage now and then we'll come back and sign off. So here we go with the Tips Bench Tuesday on starting brand new engines by hand. Okay, so as promised, we're over here at the bench, and I'm on somewhat of a rudimentary test stand, but it's atypical of what you'll find in most modelers' sheds and clubs. So I've got the Turnigy Power TP26 mounted on here with the recommended 16-inch prop on this one. I've got a gas fuel tank. This is actually a tank that you'll be seeing soon from HobbyKing.com as well to complement the range of engines. That's full with the recommended fuel, which is a ratio, I think, of 20:1 or 30:1. You'll see that fully in the instructions. Now, the thing is, the secret tip or formula, if you like, that you need to follow to get these engines to start first time, every time, right out the box, is very simply a trick on the carburetor. Now, as you can see from this footage playing over here, what you need to do, you need to soak the diaphragms with just a little bit of fuel from your fuel can. So you've got a diaphragm on this side with the one screw where it says Walbro on the carb cap. Then on the other side you've got a diaphragm, take off those 4 screws, and then the final one is inside the carb itself. Each one of those needs to be soaked in fuel. A few drops of fuel. What that does, that enables the carb to much more easily draw fuel into the engine and into the combustion chamber. Mostly what you'll find with engines that won't start is just they're simply not getting enough fuel. Even if you prime the engine, which this has been primed, so the fuel comes through the fuel line into the carb itself might not necessarily be sucking the fuel because there's no moisture there to grab it. So that's a worthwhile procedure to follow, and I can guarantee you the Turnigy Power engines will start every time, and especially first time, for you. Now this is brand new out of box. It is cold, and I'll show you it's cold from the thermometer we've got here. Here is our CDI, our ignition system. I'm running on a 2-cell LiPo for this, and this, what you see here, is the optional tachometer. Now this is a proprietary system, so if you want to use a tachometer, you do need the Turnigy Power optional tachometer for the TP engines. Other ones may interfere with the ignition system. So now it is primed, and I did use a starter motor to prime it just to get the fuel into the carb, because my tank is sitting a little bit above the carb. Ideally it should be in line with it, but once it's primed we're going to put the choke on, and I'm going to give it a few flicks to prime it once more, then put the ignition on with the choke on, wait for it to go pop, and then when I hear that first pop I'm going to take the choke off, and then away she will go. So without further ado, let's run the Turnigy Power 26. Alright, so here we go, we're starting. You can see it's 1.4, just above freezing here in Celsius. Fahrenheit, that's around 32 degrees. So you can see that this is indeed a cold start. This engine has just been taken out of the box, and now we're going to get it running. So I've already primed it with a starter motor. Now I'm going to make sure that the choke is on, and the choke is on. I'm going to open the throttle and put my glove on. The ignition is off right now. I'm just going to give it a few further turns just to choke it even further manually. And then what I'm feeling for at the back of the carb, I want to feel some moisture there. And if you can just see on my finger, it's a little bit moist. That means the fuel's exactly as it should be. Now, for safety's sake, I'm just going to do my coat up. I don't want that catching in the wind. We'll give it a few more flicks, then we're going to put the ignition on. The propeller is at the 1 o'clock position, which is optimal for what you want. You can, of course, use a starter motor if you're not comfortable starting by hand. I've got very thick gloves, so it's the very least you'd need if starting from hand. So it's at idle, the choke is on. I'm now going to plug in the ignition, which you can see plugging in here. This is a 2-cell LiPo I've got plugged in here, and I'm going to do that right now. I know that I'm getting smart because I've got a readout on the LCD there. The choke is still on. Hear that? See that pop? Straight away, it pops, great. Now I'm going to take the choke off, and because the idle needle is set, what you should see is that it starts straight away. And there we go. I keep running. Okay, so there we are. I hope you can see it running there in the background. Started straight away from cold, pretty much just above freezing. This is the first tank it's run, so I'm gonna let this run. And when you do run it, you want to run it through several different RPM settings on the bench. Maybe run about 5 tanks through it at various RPMs, idle, mid, full, and then mount it into an airframe, or at least you can fly it at that point in an airframe after, say, about 5 tanks. And again, you'll want to just continually adjust the high and low speed until about 10 or 15 tanks have run through the engine completely. At that point, it's fully run in. But it's off to a great start. You'll find this with all the Turnigy Power gas engines. New range available. We're going to go back over and close off to this video now, back on the bench. I'm going to finish running in this TP26. Okay, so there we have it for this Tips Bench Tuesday. That is the tips on how you get a brand new out-of-box engine to start, gas engine. And I can only vouch for the TP, the Turnigy engines that do this, and they do it very well, and that's pretty much a guarantee because I've started all of the range that same way and they've worked every time that way out of the box. These engines are mostly in stock. Some of them are out of stock at the moment. The more popular ones are still in stock and they will remain to be so. So check out the link below for a link to this TP26 and some other engines as well from Hobby King, and I'll see you next time, hopefully on a clearer day, for another Tips Bench Tuesday from Hobby King. Okay, thank you. Please like, comment and subscribe. I need more coffee. Please like, comment and subscribe. Whew. And I'll see you next time. Bye bye.